What is that?
Zelda. What is your next move, Jedi?
The city's being torn apart. I don't know if I'm strong enough to save it.
Who carries that fragile sword? A Link.
It is time. Time to wake up to a new reality.
How could you let the galaxy fall to this unworthy machine of an empire?
There is always something worth fighting for.
Heyo everyone, we made it through another year, which means it's time to reflect on all that life gave us this year. Time with loved ones, new opportunities, unforgettable memories, and most importantly, the best video games of the year. As I do every year, I compiled a list of what I think are the best games of the year. Your list may differ than mine, and that's completely okay. This year was absolutely stuffed with great games, and I couldn't even get close to mentioning all of them. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you guys for a great year. This channel had some incredible growth, honestly, way more than I expected. My goal was to hit 100 subs this year, and you guys crushed it. So, from the bottom of my gaming chair, thank you guys, for real. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Oh, and like always, this list is in no particular order. Alright, let's get it. This game deserved a Game of the Year nomination. I don't care what anyone else says, I will die on this hill. Listen, I'm not really a fan of rhythm-based gameplay because I suck at them, but I absolutely loved Hi-Fi Rush. Xbox just shadow dropped this gem during a Bethesda Direct or whatever, and it's honestly kinda disrespectful. This game definitely deserved more of a marketing push. Hi-Fi Rush feels like a game that was truly a labor of love. Tango Gameworks, a small Japanese studio bought out by Bethesda a while back, apparently started on this game while they were developing Ghostwire Tokyo. It sounds like it was basically a little side project that bloomed into what we eventually know now as Hi-Fi Rush. The game was inspired by Edgar Wright's Shaun of the Dead, and it so clearly wears its inspirations on its sleeve. The writing, the comedic timing, the directing style, it all screams Edgar Wright in all the best ways. Honestly, it kind of feels more like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World to me, but I digress. Anyway, the actual game, it's so good! The cartoonish art style fits so well, and it looks beautiful. The characters are charming and have legitimately funny moments. Yeah, the gameplay wasn't something I'm normally into, but everything else in this game was so freaking good that it didn't really even matter to me. The story is a bit short, but not too short. It feels like it's the perfect length.
That's what she said!
I know I'm gushing all over this game, but it seriously was one of the best games I've played in a long time. If you have Game Pass, I cannot recommend this one enough. You will not regret it. That's a Party Panda 17 guarantee. Ooh mama. This game seemingly came out of nowhere, but I feel like it's gonna be sticking around for a while. Lethal Company is a 4-person co-op game where you have to collect salvage and sell it to meet your quota. If you don't, then you get fired by this big squid thing, aka blasted into space. You have a few days to reach your quota, and you can buy upgrades for your team like flashlights and walkie-talkies, which are basically necessities because there are monsters and turrets and straight up nightmares that are lurking throughout the maps that will try to kill you. Maybe the craziest part about this is the fact that this game was made by one guy named Zeekers, who started development in Roblox of all places. Honestly, it's an awesome story, and for $10 Renos, it's kind of a steal. Plus, the mod support for this game has been blowing up, which just adds a ton of variety to the gameplay. If you're looking for something new to play with friends, you can't go wrong with Lethal Company. While we're talking about some horror games, how about that Dead Space remake, huh? Who would have thought EA, the soulless publisher behind some of gaming's greatest hits like Anthem and Shaq Fu, was capable of farting out an actual good game?
Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
You know what? It's not only good, it's fucking great. Dead Space was a game, in my opinion, that held up fairly well and didn't necessarily need a remake quite yet, but EA Motive has completely changed my opinion. This game is a freaking gift. The sound design, the graphics, the little tweaks in the story and gameplay. The Dead Space remake is incredible. I don't know, the one thing that this game nails so perfectly is the sense of atmosphere. Not like oxygen atmosphere, like the sense of dread and nervousness. It always feels like there's something lurking around the corner or that you need to be constantly watching your back. I wouldn't mind this being a reboot of sorts for the entire franchise at this point and getting a new Dead Space 2 and 3 if this is the quality they're gonna bring. I trust the team at EA Motive to get it right. If you're a fan of horror games, run, don't walk, run to your console and download this immediately. It's that great. What's going on at EA? Like actually, what the hell is happening over there? The EA I know and love would never release more than one great, complete game in the same year. Regardless, the beautiful game devs over at Respawn have done it again. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is so f***ing good, man. Yeah, the PC port was complete doo-doo at launch and the console version also had some pretty glaring performance issues, but if you ignore all of the bad stuff about this game, then it's pretty great. In all seriousness, the story in here is awesome. Kind of predictable at certain points, but I really don't care. It's a great Star Wars experience and one that I think every fan of the franchise will enjoy, especially now since the game has been cleaned up a bit. In every way, it just feels like a perfect sequel. Bigger worlds to explore, more customization options for Cal, added gameplay mechanics, return of specific characters. It's just Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order cranked up to the max. The Metroidvania exploration is back, the combat is super satisfying, the new stances add in gameplay variety, and the performances are all around terrific and memorable. Honestly, it's everything I wanted. I'm so happy with this game. I am incredibly excited to see where Cal Kestis ends up next. The devs over at Respawn are doing an amazing job with this guy. Definitely worth the price of admission, especially if you're a Star Wars fan. Guys, they've done it. They made Dungeons and Dragons in real life. Well, in video games, which is basically all my life is, so I'm saying it's real life. Also, yeah, I know this isn't the first time because it's the third game in the series and whatever. Shut up, you know what? It's a joke.
Oh, you stink!
Anyway, Baldur's Gate 3 is crazy. It absolutely dominated the Game Awards this year and is snatching up basically any award that's available. For real, the trophy shelf at Larian Studios has got to be fighting for its life in there. Baldur's Gate 3 it's kind of like the Nikola Jokic of video games. A two-time MVP and defending finals MVP who doesn't really look like a professional basketball player. You know, he's just a sloppy fat boy who will absolutely destroy you. Kind of like Baldur's Gate 3. Like Jokic, it might not be as flashy or explosive as some other games, but you can't argue with its results. The game is damn good and deserves its praises. I know turn-based action RPGs aren't for everyone, but if you want an experience that provides a ton of in-game choices and character customization, you've got to try Baldur's Gate 3. The replayability in here makes this game a title you could sink 1,000 hours into, and that's not even mentioning the co-op available. The only warning I would give is that if you're playing on Xbox, there seems to be a glitch where players are losing their save data, sometimes even files that are like 17 hours into the game. So maybe wait until that gets cleared up. Otherwise, this is definitely a game where you can just get immersed and straight up adventure. Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year for a reason. Don't sleep on this one.
You claim victory over the squirrel.
I'm so glad that this finally came out. Yes, finally. I feel like Nintendo has been blueballing us with this release for forever. And in 2023, they finally dropped it. And it's great. I never played the original. In fact, Metroid Dread was my first Metroid game, but as soon as this was announced, I knew I had to play it. Samus is such a badass, and the game looks incredible considering it's running on the Switch, which is basically using hardware that's 1,000 years old at this point. Considered one of the pioneers of the FPS genre, Metroid Prime nails everything that it sets out to do. It's incredible how well the developers were able to translate the Metroid formula to first person. The sense of accomplishment when you unlock upgrades for Samus, the rush of the unforgettable boss battles, the feeling of adventure when you explore the world. It's all there. This has got to be one of the if not the best first-person shooter on the Switch. The gameplay is precise and satisfying, and the little details sprinkled throughout the game just add a sense of immersiveness that I was not expecting at all. Like seriously, if you look up at the sky, the direction of the raindrops change on your blaster. Or if you're in a cold area, you can see the visor fog up on your screen. Or if you blow something up that's close to you, you can see the reflection of Samus's face through the helmet. If there's one thing that this game taught me, it's that I need remasters of the other two Prime games ASAP. Then please ass blast me with Metroid Prime 4 already. I'm so ready. Speaking of getting ass blasted, RoboCop Rogue City is fantastic. Whatever happened to movie games? It feels like it's been a while since we've gotten these, and then all of a sudden in 2023 we get hit with RoboCop and Avatar, which are both really solid titles. The devs behind Rogue City also made the Terminator Resistance game, which was fine. I don't know, I didn't play it, but it seems like these guys are pretty good at adapting iconic 80s films into video games. RoboCop Rogue City isn't exactly a world beater, but if you're a fan of the original movie, I think you're gonna freaking love this. It does a great job immersing you into this alternate version of Detroit where crime is rampant and your robotic corpse has to deal with it. It's kind of cool because you have the option to lean more towards your humane side and go easy on petty crime, or you can just give into the hate and side with your robotic programming and deliver unadulterated justice. The gameplay feels robotic and mechanical, which is what I think you'd want out of a RoboCop game. Yeah, they took some liberties with weapon variety and a few other things to make it feel more like a video game, but I think that's forgivable. I hope we see more games like this one. You know, not every game needs to be a AAA $300 million production that's 1,000 hours long. Just some nice movie adaptations that immerse you into the world and make you feel like the main character. Great job, RoboCop Rogue City, for real. I'm excited to see what these guys do next. Okay. I know I made a video talking about why I didn't think this game should have been nominated for Game of the Year, but I do not think that this game is bad. Seriously, I'm fully in the camp that this has been one of the best games of the year. It's a remake, you know? But we already had this conversation, so let's talk about how great this game is instead. The original Resident Evil 4 is considered one of the greatest games ever made, and the remake is able to retain that greatness and even polish it up a bit for modern gaming standards, which isn't always a guarantee. Capcom nailed this remake, and the love it has been receiving is very well deserved. From the incredible graphical update full of detailed environments and creepy lighting to the updated boss fights to additional gameplay mechanics like Leon's knife parry, this game checks all the boxes. It's pretty amazing to see that such a beloved classic was able to be remade in a way that adds in new content without straying too far away from the source material. I tip my hat to the devs on this one. This will be a game for the ages, just as the original was before it. If there was an award for most passionate devs, I think it would have to go to the people behind Hogwarts Legacy. No, I don't think this game is revolutionary or anything, but it is a damn good game, and in my opinion, head and shoulders above the next best Harry Potter game. Yeah, the story is kind of drab and cliche at points, and some of the voice lines can get really repetitive really fast.
Does it get any more cozy than Hogsmeade?
But everything else about this game is a 10 out of 10. The gameplay feels really well done and polished up, like there's quite a bit of depth to it. You can pick and choose what spells you want to use and even save custom presets for it so you can switch between spells easily. The puzzles in here are pretty good, and you actually feel like a wizard when you use Revelio or Levioso or any of the other dozens of spells they included in here. I mean, they even have the unforgivable Avada Kedavra in here, so you can feel free to turn into an evil serial killer wizard if you want. That's gotta be one of the best things about this game. Not the being a serial killer wizard part, the part where you can choose how you play. It's not like Breath of the Wild level freedom, but there is a ton of customization in here and a decent amount of gameplay options for you to choose from. I mean, if you're a Harry Potter fan, it doesn't get much better than this. This is like the full Hogwarts experience. You can go to class, you can customize your character, your wand, your broomstick, your spells, even your own secret lair. You can fly around an open world or just explore the insane detail of Hogwarts itself. That's gotta be the best part of this game. The sheer amount of detail throughout the world is fucking nuts. Hogwarts can feel like a maze because of how large and full it is. There's just so much to see and do. Tons of puzzles and hidden passageways, metal armor that will bicker with each other, portraits that come alive and talk to you. I mean, I don't know what else to say, man. I'm not even the biggest Harry Potter fan, but this game has got me glazing it. It really is a shame it didn't get nominated for a single award at the Game Awards. Seriously, this is a really fantastic game, and I hope to see more from these devs, whether that be DLC or a sequel. These guys get it. Should this game have been nominated for Game of the Year? Maybe. Are new fans and old fans alike happy with this entry? Absolutely. Will I ever finish it? At this point, probably not. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Final Fantasy 16 was not for me. I played like the first 5 or 6 hours and thought it was pretty cool. It's not for me. The combat is pretty fun and the graphics are fantastic, but the story just, it's a really intriguing premise. It has a very Game of Thrones feel to it, which is a compliment, by the way. It just feels kind of weird because the pacing seems a bit sporadic, I guess. At one point, you're hacking and slashing and having a great time, and then all of a sudden, you're watching a 5-minute cutscene. I understand the appeal in this game, I think, because there's a lot of layers to it, and it is an enjoyable experience. I just don't think it's for me. Anyway, I don't have much to say about this game, but I wanted to mention it because I do think that it is one of the best that came out this year. I'm interested to see where the franchise goes next. I don't know if they'll stick with this DMC gameplay or revert back to the turn-based combat. Either way, I think this entry was a dub for the Final Fantasy franchise. I have never, ever before been obsessed with the game like I was with Breath of the Wild. So when I found out they were making a sequel to it, my brain basically exploded in my pants. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is incredible. The amount of stuff to do in this game is mind-boggling. I can't even describe the amount of freedom and creativity the devs allow you to have in this game. I mean, who knew the Switch was capable of such an incredible game? Certainly not the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet devs.
What the hell?
It's been said to death at this point, but it's true. This is basically a massive open world sandbox mixed with old school Legend of Zelda adventuring. The amount of stuff to do in here it's honestly overwhelming at points. It just feels like there is so much going on. I have no idea what black magic the devs had to do to pull this off on the Switch. How did they cram this game into a cartridge? And how did they get it to run on the Nintendo Switch? Someone's firstborn child was definitely sacrificed here. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom has everything that made Breath of the Wild great, and somehow made it greater. Despite the fact that it's set in the same map as the Breath of the Wild Hyrule, the world is actually quite different. The overworld has new buildings and locations. The sky map is intricate and a puzzle to navigate, and the depths, something that wasn't even mentioned in the marketing, is massive. It's a replica of the ground level Hyrule, except kinda inversed, and the monsters down there are on steroids. Also, it is really difficult to see unless you've come prepared. It's kinda scary, not gonna lie. But that's just the world itself. What about the story? Even though this is a sequel, I'm pretty confident you could play this without playing Breath of the Wild. Yeah, there's a few references here and there and some reoccurring characters, but other than that, it's a pretty separate experience. I think the story this time around is also better than Breath of the Wild's. It feels like there's more of an emphasis on it this time, whereas Breath of the Wild was more about just exploring the world and experimenting with the gameplay mechanics. The side quests and characters just feel a bit more complete and fleshed out. Also, the cutscenes and presentation overall have a bit more oomph to it, almost like they wanted to give this game a shift in tone compared to its predecessor. But the best part? The gameplay. Like I said, it's like Breath of the Wild, but better. You can still explore and use the glider, but now you have new powers and tools to get around. Plus, there are a ton of armor sets and weapons to find around the world. Oh, and while we're talking about weapons, yeah, the durability thing is back, which is, it's whatever, but the ability to build weapon combinations in almost any way imaginable, I mean, come on, man. That's amazing. Is there anything this game can't do? There's probably the cure to cancer somewhere in its code. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is arguably one of the greatest games of all time, not just 2023, and I truly believe that this will be called back upon in the future as inspiration for open world games moving forward, just like Breath of the Wild is today. Anyway, play this game. It is so good. What? This is real? I thought Dead Island 2 was just a myth, like unicorns or the female orgasm. Can I be for real with you guys for a second? I didn't play this game yet. It's on my backlog, so I will eventually, probably, but I just had to mention it. Plus, I made a video about Dead Island 2's crazy decade of development that is pretty good, if I do say so myself. The fact that Dead Island 2 came out at all is nothing short of a miracle. The fact that it's an actual good game... Guys, Dead Island 2 was first announced almost 10 years ago in 2014. It went through development hell, swapping through like 3 different developers over the course of the last decade. Honestly, I thought this game was scrapped already, and the idea that it would one day come out was just being held together by the rotting corpse of the Dead Island fanbase. Boy, am I glad I was wrong. Dead Island 2 feels like the perfect sequel to the original cult classic. The 4-person co-op leaves plenty of room for chaos. They also made the in-game Los Angeles incredibly accurate based on its real-world counterpart. The lighting, the graphics, the gore, oh my lordy, it's all amazing. Seriously though, according to Dambuster, the devs who finally finished this game, they built a new gore mechanic called Fully Locational Evisceration System for Humanoids, or Flesh. Look, the important part is that this is crazy. Like, maybe these devs should go in for a psych evaluation because the gore in here is just, it's next level. I'm not complaining though. I hope the next Doom game is actually inspired by this level of nastiness because Dead Island 2 absolutely nails it. Since they're so similar in tone, this feels like a natural segue. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It's wonderful. When the first new Super Mario Bros. Came out in like 2006 or whenever for the DS, it was like the greatest thing ever. Finally, a new 2D Mario platformer. At this point, it had been years since the last time Nintendo returned to form with their mascot Plumber, and people ate this shit up. Bouncing off the success of New Super Mario Bros., Nintendo decided to do it again, and again, and again, and again. Okay, it was cool the first time, but now this is just kind of turning into a lifeless machine that feels incredibly repetitive. Don't worry though, Nintendo knew this franchise was going stale and decided to do something about it. And by something, I mean nothing. As in, no more 2D Mario platformers ever again. But then, 2023, the year of our Lord, finally happened. The devs had a hankering for some Mario platforming and decided to do something about it. After what I can only imagine was an acid-induced psychedelic trip, Super Mario Bros. Wonder came to fruition. And this game is bonkers. It's all over the place, in all the best ways. Mario is turning into an elephant, there's talking flowers, Daisy is a playable character. I mean, the devs behind this game really let loose. This is the first time in a long time that the 2D Mario platformer feels fresh and exciting. So the wonder aspect of it. Basically, there's these wonder seeds hidden on about every level, and if you get it, it completely changes the flow of that level. It's pretty innovative in the mechanics they use, and it's even crazier to think that you can play this game as just a traditional 2D Mario game. Like, the Wonder Seeds aren't actually mandatory. I guess you do need some of them to progress the game a bit, but for the most part, you can avoid these if you want and just play through the vanilla version of the level. And they added in a few other gameplay mechanics like respawn checkpoints for co-op or badges that give you gameplay variants. On top of that, the game also has all of the staples that we come to expect from a new Super Mario Bros. Game. It's got memorable music, snappy controls, chaotic co-op, and a Bowser relapsing into his old school kidnapping days. Honestly, my only complaint is that they removed collisions, so you can't bump your friend into a pit of lava or throw them at a Goomba. I love this game. Highly recommend. This game is something else. The finals is like a hodgepodge of Overwatch times Battlefield times Payday times Ready Player One times The Hunger Games. I know that sounds like a whole lot of but it's true. More than any other game this year, the finals feels like it has a personality. Like, the presentation in here feels so purposeful. Every detail feels like it was made with intention to reflect the overall identity of the game. I can't really describe it, but it's amazing to play. The whole premise is basically that you're competing in a televised game show where you and 2 other teams compete for loot. It's kind of like an extraction shooter, I guess, in that sense. So 3 teams of 3 players. There are light, medium, and heavy builds, so you can manage your team in the most effective way possible. On top of the gunplay feeling extremely smooth and polished, the destructibility in the game is mind-boggling. Like, the level of destructibility in here is what I thought Battlefield was going to accomplish one day. It feels like everything is interactable and destroyable. You can blow a hole through a wall for a quick escape or detonate a roof to crush your enemies. It's just so satisfying to play. But going back to this game's identity, just play one match and you'll understand what I'm saying. This game just knows what it wants to be and absolutely nails it. The personality is just leaking out of this thing. When you enter the match, you jump through a portal. When you die, you blow up into coins. The music is this fun digital disco score, and the announcers sound like the radio hosts from GTA 5 and are actually pretty entertaining to listen to. Like I mentioned earlier, it's all about the entertainment factor for the supposed audience that's watching these matches. So let's say that the game has been going on for a while and no team has really scored yet. The announcers will say something and then implement a game-changing variable. For example, in the game I played, they said that the space laser thing was going to be activated, and if a player didn't move within a certain amount of time, then they would get blasted by it. So basically, no more camping. And you can't exactly hide for cover because everything is destructible. Thankfully, the movement and parkour in this game is incredibly fun. The only complaint I've seen from people is that the battle pass feels impossible to finish and there aren't a whole lot of maps out yet. But for a free-to-play game, the finals absolutely has made a statement. If you're into competitive co-op shooters, I'd say this game is a must-play. You know, originally I was just gonna have this game as an honorable mention, but after finishing it, I decided to give it its own spotlight. Damn, what a game, for real. Super Mario RPG feels like a real adventure. All of the locations, the characters, the battles, it's all so memorable. No wonder why everyone was clamoring for this remake. Square Enix did a wonderful job recreating this. To me, this game felt like a movie. Like, playing through it, the story felt like a coming-of-age adventure. Meeting new characters and forming a squad, going off to explore the world, and finding exciting discoveries along the way. Not to mention all of the characters you can talk to with their funny little dumb dialogue. Just a feel-good time all around. And of course, in typical Nintendo fashion, the music is otherworldly here. Just beautiful. Truth be told, I don't play a lot of turn-based RPGs. Besides Pokemon, I haven't really played any, honestly. That being said, I really enjoyed the combat in here. There's like this multiplier you can get if you hit A with the right timing. It will either block an attack or give yours a boost. It's not much of a mechanic, I guess, but I thought it was a fun touch that kept the combat more engaging for me. So, kind of a minor spoiler warning, the ending credits is so cool. It reverts to the original art style and gives credit to the original staff. It's very wholesome. Of course, it also credits the remake devs, but I thought that was very nice how they presented the credits. Also, it's just really well done. Like, when the credits are rolling, they show all of the characters you met along the way and what they're doing now that the game is over. It just really makes you look back on just how much you've experienced throughout the roughly 15-hour playthrough. I don't know, man. I left this game with a big dumbass smile across my face. Plus, there's some post-game stuff. Not much, but if you're a fan of the original or just want a little bit of grinding to stay in this world, I think you'll be happy with the content at the end. This game is a 10 out of 10 on the wholesome scale. Atmosphere. That's the first thing I think of when I see Alan Wake 2. It's dark and moody and fits the Alan Wake brand perfectly. I won't lie, I haven't played this one yet. I really want to, but I just have a few other games I'm wrapping up and also have been hemorrhaging money these past few months. So this entry is just me talking about what I've seen and read. Alan Wake 2, it looks fantastic, like actually looks incredible. It might honestly be the best looking game so far this generation. Thematically, this seems like the perfect Halloween game. The dark, rainy environments, the spooky fog, and memorable enemies, this seems like Remedy at its finest. Apparently there's a decent amount of jump scares in here, which is bad news for me because I'm a pussy, but that doesn't seem to deter people too much, so I'm just going to try to grow a pair and power through because I really want to experience the story here. The gameplay looks like a natural progression from the original Alan Wake. I really like how there's two main characters in Alan and Saga. Plus, they've added in this mind place area where it's like a safe room for you to go over your progress and clues in the game. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on this one. I'm sorry, I wish I had more to say, I just haven't played it yet. Its accolades and universal praise should be enough to convince anyone who's on the fence though. This seems like a certified Remedy single-player classic. Here's a controversial take. I enjoyed Starfield. Blasphemy, I know, but I really did enjoy my time with it, even though the game could be like 400 times better. I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't have flaws because it certainly does, but overall, I'm glad it came out. You can find a million videos out there highlighting all of the problems with Bethesda's supposed magnum opus, so just let me focus on the positives for once. Starfield is massive. They weren't kidding when they said there's over 100 different systems with over 1,000 different planets. You can travel an entire galaxy, and I think Starfield does a good job of making you feel like an actual space explorer. The sense of size is pretty well done, and the vastness of space can feel terrifying yet exciting. Plus, the random encounters you can have while flying your ship adds a level of spontaneity that I found enjoyable. And apparently, you don't even need to fast travel, or whatever light speed is called in this game, to different planets. Yeah, so I guess you can fly from one planet to another because someone actually did it, and it took like hours to get there. Yeah, not all of these planets are super interesting since basically all of them are procedurally generated to some extent, but the idea of hopping into your own custom designed spaceship and exploring an entire galaxy is exciting to me, even if it's just for the vibes. The classic Bethesda RPG elements are back with dialogue options and a pretty hefty skill tree. They also brought back base building from Fallout 4, and I think it's better this time around. I found the gunplay to be surprisingly smooth and refined. Yeah, enemies are bullet sponges, but that's just how most RPGs are. Unfortunately, they're still using the creation engine, so there's a lot of jank in here. It sounds weird, but it kinda adds a little bit of charm to it, as stupid as that sounds. I don't know, there's just something about Bethesda glitches that bring me back.
I'll see you around.
Graphically, I think it looks nice. It's not anything super crazy, but you know, it's a nice looking game. Story-wise, it's pretty cool, I guess. The new game plus, without getting into spoilers, is a really cool idea, and I like how they implemented it. I also enjoyed the variety of side quests loaded into this game. It feels like there's a ton, and for the most part, are interesting and rewarding to complete. This was Bethesda's first new IP in decades, so I understand where there might be some missteps here and there. If I'm being real though, I'm glad that they took some big swings, even if they are misses with Starfield, because hopefully this means they'll have a better idea of what/how they want to implement new ideas into their next game, Elder Scrolls 6, or even further down the line, possibly a Starfield sequel. Like most Bethesda titles, I can't wait to fire up some mods with this bad boy and see what can be done thanks to the incredible modding community. I give props to Todd Howard and company for apparently building Starfield with modding in mind. At the very least, these guys know their audience. Anyway, I think Starfield was a decent first entry into what could possibly become a new franchise. We'll see what they do with the upcoming Shattered Space DLC and what kind of ideas they might implement into the game moving forward. If all goes as originally planned, Starfield could have a pretty long shelf life. Since it wasn't really nominated for too many accolades at the Game Awards, maybe that will add fuel to the fire and motivate the devs to turn Starfield into something really special. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen this happen, and I think Starfield does have the potential to be something great. Okay, I know we just talked about a ton of games, but there's still a few more that I wanted to give a shout out to. Here are some honorable mentions for the best games of 2023. Atomic Heart. Visually, one of the most unique games I've seen in a while. I love the setting of an alternate Soviet Union in the 1950s. Some top-notch aesthetics in this one. Sons of the Forest. Honestly, if Lethal Company hadn't come out this year, I'd say Sons of the Forest is the best PC co-op game of 2023. It's still in early access, but there's a really solid foundation with this horror survival game. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. Solid remake of a classic turn-based strategy game from the Game Boy era. My biggest gripe, it's with the graphics. You know, a lot of people had the same complaint. This art style feels so out of place. It honestly makes this title feel like a cheap mobile game, which sucks because the game itself is really fantastic. Outlast Trials. Haven't played this yet, but damn, Outlast Trials looks great, and people are loving it. 2023 has been a goldmine for the first-person survival co-op genre. Outlast Trials looks like it has all of the ingredients to become a spin-off franchise of its own, so hopefully the devs can keep this train rolling. Mortal Kombat 1. This is in my backlog, and I can't wait for it to go on sale. I never buy these games at full price because it feels like they go on sale fairly often, but you can bet your bottom dollar that I'll be snatching this up ASAP. I absolutely adore the story mode in this franchise, and I found the ending of Mortal Kombat 11 very intriguing. I'm really excited to see what twists and turns this game is going to throw my way. Street Fighter 6. I'm not really into the Street Fighter franchise, but I felt obligated to mention this game because apparently the gameplay in here is a lot better than Mortal Kombat 1's. Haven't played it, so I can't confirm. I don't know, debate in the comments or something. Diablo 4. There was like a period of about a month where this game was universally praised. A brand new open world Diablo. Beautiful environments, great gameplay, and an intriguing story. People were loving this. Then Activision did what Activision does and made the game worse. They added a few things that players were requesting, yeah, but then also added in gameplay mechanics and nerfs that made the game slower and more tedious. It kind of feels like they made it more grindy to milk out their Battle Pass content, but I don't know for sure, to be honest. I haven't played this game in months. Anyway, still a solid game, just needs to stay on the right track. Pikmin 4. Here's another game that feels like it's been in development for forever. Pikmin 4 might be the best looking Switch game to date. The graphics aren't ultra realistic, but the art style and lighting and depth of field effect really make the visuals in here shine. The gameplay is also the best it's ever been for a Pikmin game. Not to mention that most of the game is technically post-game content, I guess? I won't spoil anything, but definitely don't close out of the game until after the credits roll if you want to get your money's worth. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Not super groundbreaking with gameplay mechanics, but I think that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a wonderful iteration of the asymmetrical multiplayer horror genre. This style of game has really been blossoming in recent years, and TCM fits right up there with the likes of Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th. Armored Core 6. This is a franchise that I've honestly never even heard of before this was announced at the Game Awards last year, which is crazy considering this is the 6th entry. Anyway, I got this game and played the first few hours, and I don't know, I don't think it's for me. The story is pretty interesting and there is a ton of customization available for your mech, but the gameplay and difficulty has just been a bit too much for me. I plan on going back to it eventually, but for now, I just needed to step away. Anyway, shout out to the Armored Core fans, I'm glad you guys got another entry. Lies of P. It's on Game Pass, so I will get to this eventually. I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but there have been so many good games this year. Anyway, Lies of P appears to be a unique looking Soulsborne game that actually plays well. I feel like a lot of games try to be Soulsborne and then just make something that is overtly difficult and calling it a day. Lies of P seems to check all the boxes for what Souls players are actually looking for, so hopefully this game did well enough to sprout a sequel. Assassin's Creed Mirage. A return to form of sorts for the Assassin's Creed franchise, Mirage brought down the scale compared to Valhalla and focused on a more precise story set in a smaller map. The game reviewed fairly well, not as well as I was hoping, but overall I think people enjoyed it. I hope they don't give up on these smaller scaled AC games. I'd love to see another one like this that's a bit more polished up and to the standards that fans are hoping to see. Forza Motorsport. I'm not much for racing sims, but I had a good time with this one. Graphically, it's insane. This one might be the best looking Xbox Series X game so far. The level of fidelity, the reflections, the lighting in general, it's beautiful, man. The customization seems really in depth. I say seems because it's way over my head, so I just click on the auto upgrade button. If you're a car bro, let me know what you think of this. Other than that, this is a really satisfying, fun, and absolutely gorgeous racing sim. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Okay, if Forza or Alan Wake 2 aren't the best looking games of this generation, then it's gotta be Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. The detail in this game doesn't even feel real. I wasn't really a fan of the decision to go first person with this, but after seeing how detailed the environments are, I'm totally on board. The story sounds fairly unique, the gameplay looks refined, and like I said, the world is stunning. Not gonna lie, I was in the camp of this just being a Far Cry times Avatar crossover basically, but I'm happy to admit that it looks like I was wrong. People are really happy with this one. BattleBit Remastered. I bought into the hype and gave this game a shot. For like 15 bucks or whatever it was, BattleBit Remastered is a solid deal. Yeah, it's got like the old Roblox type of graphics, but the gameplay in here is incredible. It's a throwback to everything that made the old Battlefield games so beloved. Emphasis on destruction, tons of vehicles, important roles within classes. If you're not a stickler for graphics and miss old school Battlefield, you're gonna have a blast with this one. Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty. Last but not least, Cyberpunk 2077. Damn, who would have thought that this game would actually be able to turn it around? Certainly not 2020, Party Panda.
Look at this! What the fuck is this thing?
Despite all of the grief I've given this game in the past, I've got to give it its flowers for cleaning itself up and finally being the game we were all expecting. Is it fair to still be upset with CD Projekt Red after the game's original launch? Absolutely. I would not blame you one bit if you still hold a grudge for that disaster. But if you're willing to give it another go, I'd say now is better than ever to hop back in. The gameplay is completely overhauled, the AI is smarter, and the game is just overall more engaging. The Phantom Liberty expansion is a beautiful addition with memorable performances. Honestly, the only thing I can think of that would have made this redemption arc perfect is if they made this first DLC free. But alas, corporations. Anyway, Cyberpunk, officially no longer the worst thing on the planet. Here it is. Despite all of the great competition this year, Spider-Man 2 is my game of the year. I really had to think about this one, but I just found this game the most enjoyable for me. Of course, the biggest reason is because I'm a massive Spider-Man fanboy, but you know what? I don't care. I love being biased. Putting that aside, this is genuinely a fantastic entry in the Insomniac Marvel universe. It ushers in new gameplay mechanics and increases the size of the map by a considerable amount. Not to mention the web swinging in this game is so much better feeling than the other two previous titles. You can really move fast throughout the city and it feels incredible. The story is what really got me though. The main story is about 17 to 20 hours, but there's so much that happens in it that it feels pretty long. In every way, Spider-Man 2 feels like the perfect sequel. Bigger map, better gameplay, satisfying controls, especially with the DualSense, improved visuals, returning characters, and overall, I think a deeper story. Not to mention the fact that this game sets up a ton of potential storylines with well-known Marvel characters in the future. I already made a video on why I absolutely adore this game, so I won't get too much more into it. The only thing missing right now is a new Game Plus option and a few minor things like changing the time of day and weather, which is supposedly coming in an update soon. If you're a Spider-Man fan, I know this might sound crazy, especially in this economy, but these 3 games might be worth buying a PlayStation 5 for. Yeah man, they're that good. Okay, this is definitely the longest video I've ever made. If you made it to the end somehow, wow, thank you, I'm serious. I love you guys. I read every comment that my videos get, and the fact that some of you take the time out of your day to write anything at all means a lot to me. With that being said, what do you guys think? What games did I miss this year? What was your personal game of the year? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Thank you guys for everything. I hope you all had a great 2023 and have an even better 2024. I appreciate you all as always, and I'll catch you in the next one.